Traders, how are you? Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. Super excited. We are doing a military training, an advanced military training. You guys know I started DTA, I think it was 11 years ago. Well, actually, I've been in the industry, let's say, almost 18 years now, and started in Latin America, I think 6 or 7 years ago. And it's just been an amazing boom. I started down here with Nikolai. We had some other traders help along the way. Nikolai literally started learning Spanish to be able to teach. He learned Portuguese as well. Brazil, I'm coming for you. And now we have Superman, the guy affectionately calls Superman, Jim, coming for an advanced training down here in Latin America. Super excited. You'll see some videos of that probably here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. Questions, hashtag Ask Marcello. I know I haven't been uploading the videos, but I will soon, now that I have a little bit more time after getting back from the Philippines, setting up operations there. And shout out to you guys in the Philippines, because I think we're going to bring Superman to the Philippines probably second part of the year next year for military training for you guys, which is great. So learning from the masters of the masters. So overall this week, we saw a situation where multiple record highs, more than anything for the S&P 500, record high on, I believe it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. NASDAQ was just Friday, but either way, they both hit record highs this week. We had a situation where the Fed on Wednesday decided to lower interest rates. That put a lot of pressure on stocks, and that surged everything a lot higher. Another thing that helped quite a bit was the better than expected Q3 earnings season. 78% of the 199 companies on the S&P 500 reported, more than anything, with favorable results. And also, we had telltale signs of investors hoping for a partial trade deal between the US and China, and also good jobs growth data. The Dow now is 50 points away from reaching an all-time high again. U.S. indices for the week, the Dow is up 1.44%, S&P 500 1.46%, the NASDAQ is at 1.73% positive. Major indexes in global fronts as well were affected. Global stock markets rallied to a 21-month high on Monday, boosted again by the growing hopes for a U.S.-China trade deal. Also, the U.S. rate cut helped quite a bit as well. European markets, the Istanbul markets was the biggest loser at 1.78%. Russian markets are up 1.98%. Latin American and Canadian markets are mixed. The Merval was up 3.54%, whereas the Santiago index, the biggest loser, at 4.22%. Santiago, Chile, they've actually had the worst political crisis in decades, with all the manifestations and riots and everything on the streets since they went back to democracy in 1990. They've a lot of things going on in Latin America and around the world. Catalonia, Lebanon, Indonesia, about 2 weeks ago, kind of the world waking up, so to speak. In African and Middle Eastern markets, the biggest winner was South Africa with 2.73% positive. The Saudi Arabian market went down by 2.18%. And in Asia, the biggest winner was 2.76%, mostly all higher. Philippine stocks are up 0.68%. Shout out to all my Philippine traders. We got a great group now out there. Great to see you guys learning and growing. Want you guys to be trading live soon so we can share that as well. New master traders to join. The master of the masters, my man Dominic. I miss you. Don't forget to claim your coffee, Dominic. Bitcoin is up 1.56% at 9,447 for the week. On the Monday open, price soared 42% as it went to a high of 10,500 at one point over the weekend. Last weekend, the biggest daily gain since 2011. Then it went back to around 9,370 in early morning trading. Overall for the week, 22.83% positive. It went from 7,490 to about 9,200 or so, just under 9,200. In finance and banking news, Bank of Japan kept its monetary policy steady at negative 0.1% on Thursday. They did give the strongest signal yet that they might push into further negative territory. In commodities, crude oil futures is up 0.55% to about 56.97. International Brent went down 0.81% to 61.52. International crude, if you guys don't know, is called Brent. So you guys know, for those of you guys that are new. Indonesia is using the world's largest deposits of nickel, up to 25% of the global supply, worth $350 billion, to lure the auto industry to invest billions of dollars into the country to transform it into a hub, a tech hub, and an electrical EV hub. If you guys don't know or don't see, we're kind of moving into an electric vehicle era. Obviously started by Tesla. Now all the Germans, everybody's kind of moving in. And in order to make those electric vehicles, the batteries that they use are heavily on nickel. So Indonesia is going to be very, very important. And since they don't allow that nickel to be exported, what they want the companies to do is to invest in the economy, create jobs, and then assemble the batteries essentially, and then export it overseas. Great thing for Indonesia. It might help their economy quite a bit. Palladium also, one of the 4 precious metals. It's actually become the most precious of them all, so to speak. The most expensive now at a record 1,833. There's been an acute shortage over the years. This is the 8th year now where the demand has fallen short of the supply, and now is more expensive than gold. Gold is at about 1,500 or so. Palladium's price, remember, doubled more than a year ago. If you guys don't know what palladium is used for, there's something in the cars called catalytic converters. So in gasoline, petrol cars, there's a box about this big or so in the undercarriage of the car, which helps to moderate the pollution that comes out of the exhaust pipe. So that, more than anything, I remember when the prices spiked years ago, if I'm not mistaken, 2009, I was traveling. I think it was around 2006 or 5, right around there. People were literally going under cars, stealing the catalytic converters to melt it down and get the palladium and sell it. Precious metals for the week are higher. Gold went up 0.66%, silver 0.44%. If you guys are on Instagram, I've been sharing some of those positions on silver. I know you guys have been wanting me to share those. I haven't had time going back and forth from Philippines. This week we got the MTU 2.0 and advanced training down here in Latin America. So I'll definitely get that video to you guys as well. But if you want to follow me, it's Marcelo Arrambide English. I've been doing a better job of uploading the stories and everything there. Political news: Uruguay's longtime ruling party is stating that they're failing to communicate its achievements with voters, according to a senior official. They are expecting to lose power in the second round vote in November. Protest in Bolivia. The opposition is saying that for the 4th term for what's his name? I have it here written. Give me a second. Evo Morales, 4th term in office. He committed fraud with the elections. That's what they're saying, and that's why they're protesting. Chile as well. As I mentioned to you guys, really bad situation there as well, even though from an outsider's point of view, in my opinion, Chile, they shouldn't be protesting at all. I mean, I can understand situations like Argentina or Venezuela, Colombia maybe even, but Chile, only first world country, if we can say that politically now, in Latin America, the only country in Latin America that can go to the U.S. without a visa. They can travel without a visa to the U.S. Highest standard of living, highest GDP per capita, and they're complaining. In my opinion, Chile is the best place to live in Latin America. I'm mostly in Colombia because of because of everything. But the best economy overall is Chile in Latin America, and the most stable, right? A lot of times these economies in Latin America, they shift to one way, and then all of a sudden they shift back to the other way, and they'll have problems. But Chile has kind of been the standard, so to speak, in Latin America. UK's exit from the EU is officially delayed until January 31st, 2020. So again, the back and forth is going to continue. The Prime Minister of Lebanon, Saad al-Hariri, is resigning as the country plunges into deeper economic and political turmoil. And even Catalonia, which is the most prosperous region in Spain, has 2 weeks of mass protests, pro-independence rallies, as 9 political activists are jailed for up to 13 years for the failed secession in 2017. In economic news, the U.S. economy grew less than expected at 1.9% instead of 1.6%. It was at 2% in quarter two. Declining business investment offset by a resilient consumer spending and a rebound in export is what actually happened. If you guys don't remember, consumer spending is about 70% of the economy in the United States. This is why they did the quantitative easing, right? Where they injected liquidity, they just literally created money. They injected it into the economy. The stock market goes up. Most people, if their pension funds and retirements and all their money is in the stock market, it goes up. They feel more rich. They go out and spend more money. Since it's 70% of the economy, it helps the economy move. And then we play the charade like the economy is doing okay, even though it's not. Hong Kong fell into recession for the first time since the financial crisis a decade ago. They're hit by 5 months of anti-government protests that erupted into violence over the weekend again. Chinese factory activity shrank for the 6th month in October. The firms faced the weakest economic growth in 30 years. Corporate news, Bank of America, the 40-day worker strike with the UAW union against General Motors finally made a deal. Bank of America stating that they lost $3 billion in profits. Luxury good makers LVMH, which owns Louis Vuitton and Bulgari, are going to try and buy Tiffany & Co., the famous bracelet and accessories maker. It's one of the fastest growing industries in the luxury region. They're going to offer $120 a share, $14.5 billion. It's a 22% premium over the stock's closing price on Friday. Virgin Galactic Holdings is surged 7.7% on the New York Stock Exchange, indicating strong investor sentiment in the first-place tourism industry in public markets. Deutsche Bank, the biggest bank in Germany, still not doing well. They reported $925 million loss in quarter three as they try to exit businesses and restructure as well. And the leftist Alberto Fernandez in Argentina won the elections last Sunday, beating the friendly, what they say is the friendly open market right wing Macri, the current or previous current administration. Now we have a situation where we have an extreme left in Argentina. That's backwards on the video. Extreme left in Argentina, extreme right in Brazil, and there's probably going to be a friction between the two because there's an economic bloc called Mercosur, I would say political and economic, where now you have Venezuela, which was part of that bloc. They're out because of the situation there. Uruguay, small economy, and now we have the two extremes, the Jair Bolsonaro, which they call the South American Trump, called it a red bandit. So now the Fernandez won due to the fact that they had a worsening Argentine financial and economic conditions. One of the things that I find funny about politics, people don't look at what's happened in history. I explained this in the Spanish video as well, where, if I'm not mistaken, if you guys can look this up, the vast majority of the last 17 presidents or so have been left. Peronist is what they call it in Argentina. So the leftists have been in power, if I'm not mistaken, 14 out of the 17 times, and that's literally the last 70 years. And the economy in Argentina has not gotten any better. They literally have a financial crisis every 10 years. You would think that the Argentinian people would see this and vote for the other direction. Maybe I'm not saying right or left is right? I'm never going to get political on the program, but the facts show that they voted to the left literally the majority of the times, and then things aren't better. So maybe they should vote for the other party or an outsider if you don't want to vote for the right. But no, they just keep going back to the same thing, and we're going in the same circle. It's kind of like in the US, we do the same thing where we go left, right, left, right, left, right, and things don't get better overall. Even though, in my opinion, traveling around the world and seeing what happens in the world, I still think the United States is the best country in the world. China is turning its 5G networks on ahead of schedule on Friday, initially targeting a 2020 launch. Takes a place amid a launching U.S. trade war between the U.S. and China, which is kind of turned into a tech supremacy war. They launched it for about $18 a month, all the companies there in China. In investment news, Last weekend, Microsoft won the Pentagon coveted Jedi Cloud contract worth $10 billion in over 10 years. It beats out the favorite Amazon AWS. The shares of Microsoft are up 42% this year. Google is going to buy the wearable device maker Fitbit for about $2.1 billion. It enters the fast-growing market for fitness trackers and smartwatches. Italian-American automaker Fiat Chrysler. Fiat is from Italy. Chrysler is from the U.S. It used to be the third largest. Used to be the third largest American chain. Now they combined. They're in talks with the PSA Group to be able to merge the businesses that are worth of $50 billion. They'd combine to be the fourth automaker globally, with its French rival access to the U.S. market. Malaysia, even though most of you guys don't know about Southeast Asia, Malaysia is one of the most advanced economies in Southeast Asia with, for example, Singapore. They want to reduce their reliance on low-skilled foreign workers. One of the things that they do in Singapore and Malaysia, for example, Philippines has 100+ million people. If I'm not mistaken, Singapore has about 5 million and Malaysia has about 30 million. So because of the lack of skilled workers, what happens is you have the Pakistanis or the Indians and the Filipinos that go to work in these countries to do the low skilled jobs like maids and waiters and things like that, whereas the locals do the more high skilled leveled work. They want to start relying less on overseas workers. They want to cut down about 130,000 in the next 5 years. Even though a lot of small and medium enterprises are saying that it's going to be a detriment to the local economy. Malaysia is going to come soon for DTA as well, for those of you guys that are there. Auto sales in China may fall 26 million this year, a dip of 8%. Industry executives warn a second year of contraction with slowing economic growth and also tighter vehicle emission standards in China. And in the streets of Ecuador, Chile, Bolivia, Mexico has problems, not for the same reasons. Funny thing in Mexico that happened over the week, the military is going to focus on trying to catch Uber rather than going after the drug cartels. So shows kind of the focus there of the current administration. But obviously, a lot of people are complaining around the world due to the fact that they don't have enough equality and opportunities. Obviously, it's been rampant through Latin America. It's happened in Catalonia, even though they're obviously for different reasons, and even in Indonesia about 2 weeks ago as well. 36-year-old Nepali became the fastest climber to reach the summit, world's 14 highest mountains. Scaling the mountains in just over 6 months. It's a feat that other such climbers have taken to several years to complete. California wine industry is being affected by all the forest fires. The revenues of the wine industry in California is about $40 billion annually. Remember that California on its own is the 7th largest economy in the world. It produces 80% of the wine in the United States, 4th largest producing region in the world, and it's near $1.8 billion worth of exports on an annual basis. Definitely going to affect the economy in California. And last but not least, Trump and the First Lady are switching their residency to Mar-a-Lago, which is a resort in Florida, from New York. They're stating that the reason they're going to do it is due to political and for tax savings as well. That's the news this week, guys. I'll make sure to upload the MTU 2.0. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and even TikTok now. I'm on TikTok. Marcelo Arrambide on TikTok. Marcelo Arrambide English on Instagram. We'll see you next week.